Okay, then there's a story to come, this little story to tell, because this was another thing I learned something about, or gave me another hint on an assumption I already had. So this was the Hamburger Kunsthalle, 2008, 2009. Yeah, there it is, 2009. And it was a quite successful works in terms of, it really got through the roof on the internet, and overnight we got 100 emails and all got crazy, and so this was kind of the breakthrough with Urban Screen, but in another way it was the most unsuccessful work. We had to, I think in the end, we had to pay 3,000 or 5,000 bucks for doing that, because I wanted to do that, and I had this concept in mind, and I bought 3D artists to realize that, and all this technique. So it was expensive, more expensive than we got out of it. Anyway, to save a little bit money, I did one thing. I hired the event technique, which is the most expensive devices in such a thing, meaning the big projectors, just for the evening where we showed the piece. Meaning we built the stuff up at like 6 o'clock, still bright sunlight, and then in dawn, when it was getting dark, I adjusted the projection mapping to the house. And this process, you can imagine like that. So you have this grid, and you firstly arrange the projectors, and then you slowly have, like with the machine, you kind of stitch these certain patterns to the real structure of the architecture. Funny thing though, the Hamburger Kunsthalle did something wrong. So they announced the start of the show to the time where I said I'm gonna start the adjusting process. So what I didn't know, I was concentrated and I was practicing in the office, and now, okay, I've got half an hour adjusting that. The audience gathered, like there were suddenly like 500 people on the place. I didn't recognize that. So I was like doing my adjustment work, and when I was ready, 20 minutes, half an hour later, I switched that off, ready to start the show. And what happened is, when I switched it off, I got a huge applause from the audience, right? And they were coming to my booth and saying, "Yeah, this was interesting work. And can you tell? Do you have a card? And I like to see more of you." And I was like, trying not to laugh, but I was like this, very funny thing. So I laughed like weeks with my colleagues. We laughed our asses off about this. But anyway. Thing is, in every good joke there is kind of a truth, and I asked myself, okay, what is basically the thing? Because I wouldn't consider these 500 people to be idiots, right? So they must have seen something that had been interesting to them. And then I came to the idea that maybe beyond every storytelling, there is something in projection mapping that is interesting, beyond every 3D effect, beyond every nice graphic or sound that you hear. There is something that is interesting, that is just when a digital grid gets in alignment with a real structure. That just from that very basic matrix behind that, there's a kind of fulfillment, kind of joy that the people have. And I believe in that, not because of this story only, right? It's just a story to reveal this thought. But to make it clear in another graphic, I strongly believe that there is kind of a commonly shared collective need to combine this digital world with the real world. So if we see all these things of AR and VR, it's not only industry-driven, I strongly believe. It's driven also by a need that we're not constructed to live in two worlds, in an analog and a digital world. And if I consider how much time I spent in front of this computer living in a digital environment and then going back and cook my food and then going back here, I think that we are not made to that. And I don't want to reveal myself here or put myself here as a synchronos, what is it? Whatever, the ones that believe that everything is going to be one at one time, and that I strongly believe in that stuff. But I see the drive, and I see that there is, from an artistical point, dramaturgic tension within this two, right? And so I have to admit, and that's also very fast, I don't really believe in virtual reality. To everybody, I think it's amazing. I did it, and I think there will be a place for that in gaming and and even in art. But what I think really will influence in our future daily living is the augmented reality, meaning the interwoven, overlapping digital onto our daily surfaces. So, and we also can see this obvious. I also go very fast. This is like the MS HoloLens we heard about. The industry already is adapting this idea, and that is not only the case within visual devices. This is a funny work from an artist I really like. He invented this wallet that connects with your bank account, and when you have like lots of money on your bank account, the wallet is getting bigger, and if you have less money, it's getting thinner. So also here we can see it's getting the digital is getting haptical. I feel how much money I have in the pocket as if I, a little bit funny, but the idea maybe is transparent. So, and now shifting a little bit into the direction of today and maybe how the things will develop. Again, I'm an artist, and I only report what I saw and my developed thought out of this. So, one crucial thing is if we now ask for the quality that we brought up after 15 years, how is the digital basically merging with the analog? Is it like that the analog is adapting to the digital world, or is it the other way around, that the digital is adapting more to the analog world, or are they meeting right in the middle in terms of their qualities like acceleration and dramatic appearance and all the stuff? And this is should run. Here we go. So this is just a random video clip I took out, and this is one of our works. And the interesting thing is, I'm sure if you would only show the content we projected to a 12-year-old boy, he would maybe die in boredness because there is nearly nothing happening. Over 10 minutes, there's just this sail moving slowly. But in real life, this was like a really emotional and huge experience, right? And the thing is that we didn't, this is not a work coming out of a basic design philosophy from us. This result is like a learning process over 12 years. So in order to make such dramatic urban stagements, we had to learn to unlearn everything we learned on that side and to go our own path until this emotional results had been produced. And we had to de-accelerate to an extended amount the visual language that we know from internet, TV, and cinema. So the whole appearance is much more closer to reality than it is to the digital. And I think that this is a thought that we can transpose also into a broader idea of when the digital is meeting the analog world. The digital radically has to adapt to the needs, shapes, and appearance of the real world. This is what I think. And in the most cases, when we see that right in the moment, especially in media facades, and so it's totally like going the wrong way, because we only take what we know of the digital today into this new spaces, and it totally doesn't merge, doesn't work, doesn't take any relationship to each other. So, and this is not an aesthetic statement, to make that clear, or what I like, although it's just about if you want to bring these levels together in a way that they merge, you have to radically adapt to real life. So I think future digital, and this is maybe a good news for today, but it's only what I think, right? Is maybe you know this film, Her by Spike Jonze, and maybe you know also this, Hyperreality. I think that the future digital will more look like that. I really like the film, and not only because of the film itself and how it's made, but also about what I like about it is the whole screenplay. So how the digital world of tomorrow appears there. You don't see any signs of digital. It's kind of hidden, but serving and available all the time. And a future scientist, or no, as a scientist researching on the future. He wrote a book, and very interesting, I forgot his name, so sorry about that. But he quoted in this thing, do it like a lover do strategy. Very funny name, but if you look behind that idea, it's quite funny. He presumes that every service, every digital appearance will behave like an anticipating lover to you. That is like keeping in the background, don't getting on your nerves, not like dancing around in the room, but if you need something, she or he is already there providing to you. Can you leave this? And then like anticipating and emotional connected to you. Like little bit reduced, but anyway, a very interesting idea. So this is a little bit good news for everybody because I talked about bringing the digital into real spaces, right? That the fears that we have today is more a mental projection of what we know that the digital is today into this view. I think this won't work out, and it has to change radically. Yeah. So I call this also analogization of digital contexts, which I'm basically work in and chewing around. So this is first half, and hopefully, I don't know. Quickly, another thought of I stumbled upon. This was a work really opening my mind again. I started that developing a media facade in Hamburg on the Reeperbahn, and I had the big chance not only to create the content, but also create the whole shape, the whole media facade, right? And there had been like millions of ideas, of course, that I tried to adapt in the first place from projection mapping onto media facade, but I stopped them all. I really had to rethink the whole concepts of how to do that. Here, a little funny thing also I invented there is a glass facade on the Fahrstuhl, and that this is a real picture, and there's LED structure in the glass, and you could like press the button and go to the upper stair, and then you drive through this beer glass, this virtual beer glass. And this was in advertising. They asked me to invent something for advertising for this beer brand, local beer brand. Anyway, so marketing also involved. I'm not a saint here, but anyway, this is also not my point. My point is that I really had to rethink the whole strategy, how to design that all. And why is that? And I stumbled upon that the biggest distinction between the works I had done so far in projection mapping and this media architecture, I'm really in this topic now, it fascinates me, has to do with time. Because this is a temporary installation. Obviously, the Sydney Opera was just shown for 1 or 2 weeks or something. And these other installations are permanent.